Good morning. My name is Matt Murray, and this is my presentation over our final assignment for my summer Intro to Government class. The office that I have chosen is the Presidency. The President of the United States is a very important job, as any citizen would most likely know. It can be a very polarizing job. Most of the time, people either love you or hate you. There's not really a very good middle ground in that. And the president has all eyes on him, both from people in the United States and outside of the United States. So it's very important that the most qualified person is selected for that job. This was very fun to research. Without further ado, let's get into the slideshow and see what all we can learn about the president today. The president overall is said to be the most powerful man in the world. He's the commander-in-chief of the military. He overall leads the country. What the president says goes. He's the face of the entire country. If the president is strong and a good leader, the United States is going to appear strong as well. But if the president is lacking, if he's wishy-washy, if he's indecisive, if he doesn't command authority, the United States is going to look weak along with him. He's elected by the people. It's part of democracy. The people choosing who they want to lead them, government by the people, for the people. The president also has a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. He's not only leading the entire country, but he's having to make decisions that are affecting places around the globe. Things like foreign policy, economic policy, and legislation that is impacting the United States as a whole. All eyes are truly on the president for how he's going to respond to things. And he plays a large part in political participation as a whole. He enables people to vote for him, and he is honestly impacting government as best he can as he is involved in the entire process itself. He's not just voting, he is running for office. He is playing a part in the democracy as a whole and the running of the country. So it's a very important job, not something to take lightly. Let's dive into a general overview of the presidency and the executive branch, which is basically the whole presidency. Let's learn about this before we get into what my life would look like if I was the president. The president has many unique powers provided him by the Constitution that aren't made available to members of the other branches of government. These include the ability to issue executive orders, to veto bills, to appoint federal judges, to command the U.S. military, and to appoint the head of federal agencies, which are the president's cabinet. These are like his set advisors that help him with things going on in the country, and they can specialize in other areas so that he doesn't have to stress over everything altogether. Part of checks and balances, however, is that these people that the president selects have to first be approved by the Senate. This makes sure that he's picking good people and that he's not selecting people that are just going to agree with him on everything, which we'll get into checks and balances more a little later when we talk about impeachment. So a little overview of executive orders. Once again, these are very important for the executive branch as a whole and the president. Executive orders aren't law, but they can hold as much weight as a law. They are required to be followed when a president issues them. They bring about change really quickly, but checks and balances help to make sure that the president doesn't just have complete authority to make whatever laws he wants, as the judicial branch can check and the courts can make sure that the executive orders that he makes abide by the Constitution, and if they don't, they can disband them. But since the president can issue them so quickly, oftentimes their impact will take place before the judicial branch can stop it. But overall, it still helps to make sure that the president doesn't just get to do whatever he wants to do. Power distribution is also an important thing when it comes to the presidency. There's also systems in place to make sure that if the president is made unable to serve, whether that's from incapacitation, death, resignation, or removal from office by impeachment, there's always someone who is available to take his place. So like the vice president, speaker of the House, so on and so forth, down the chain of command to make sure there's always someone in power. So now we're getting into election. This is a very important part of the presidency, very important part of the United States as a whole. New presidents can only be elected every 4 years, and each president can only serve 2 terms. The main political parties in the United States, the Democratic and Republican parties, choose a person that they want to represent their party in the election, and they get to this point by winning primaries and beating other political candidates. And after this person has been chosen, they begin campaigning and trying to prove to the country why they're the best candidate for the office of president. So once again, you have the Democratic nominee and the Republican. They do all kind of things like commercials, social media, flyers, speeches, things like that to prove why they are best for the office of the presidency, to try to convince the American people to vote for them. So if I was running for this office again and I was choosing how I would want to campaign, it would be based on like truth and real change, not focusing on like why one candidate's better than the other, as I think that just makes things more polarized and divisive, but focusing instead on like real improvements and cooperation and working together so that our country can come together rather than split. I think bad people thrive off of that competition and that divisiveness in our country. I think that needs to be stopped rather than encouraged. And overall, it's good for presidents to keep track of the media so that they can make sure that the things being said about them are true and not false. Talking more about election, people in the states will vote, and the Electoral College then chooses who they're going to vote for, most of the time based on how the people in the states vote. For example, like Arkansas, if we mainly voted for the Republican Party, most of the time the Electoral College will follow that, but they don't have to. President needs 270 to have the majority vote from the states, and once they hit that mark, they are brought into office, they take an oath, and they're able to lead the country. It's a pretty amazing process that allows the people to be involved, and once again, through impeachment, checks and balances will keep the president in check. The day-to-day life of the president was overall very stressful. He has to deal with leading the entire country and solving all these problems and things like that, enforcing legislation and dealing like with all the voices and the opinions of people who want him to do what they want him to do. President's Day begins early. Once again, if this would be me, it would be getting up early, having time to exercise and spend time with the family before getting to office around 9:30. Even before that, the president reads the daily brief, which is just a summary of all the current events going on in the world at that time, so that he or I would have a general idea of what the day was going to include as it comes to leading the country and dealing with all the issues going around in the world. Get to the office by, again, 9:30, and then from 9:30 to 4:30, it's things like visiting committees, having meetings, visiting around the country, talking with other world leaders. The work day would end around 6, which would be going to spend time with like my family, but things would normally pick up again around 8:30 when phone calls start back up as more things are taking place around the world that the president needs to be in the know of. And then eventually, whatever time it may be, depending on how stressful or busy the day is, sleep and start again the next day. So once again, the day-to-day life of the president is hard to set exactly because it's always changing so much. But one thing that does remain true is the president's use of the Constitution. Everything that he does should abide by the words of the Constitution. He's the one tasked with enforcing it overall. So overall, the president's life is very difficult, but very important nonetheless. It's very stressful. It's impossible for a job like that not to be, but it's crucial. The president leads the nation. If he's not doing that good, the whole nation is going to fall apart. He protects and fights for freedom, which is the most important part of our people, of the United States, the freedom that we hold, the great country that we live in. And the president works to ensure the future of our country and that it can be maintained for many years to come. So overall, presidency is very important. It was fun learning about this. I was thankful for the opportunity, and I hope that I can be a more involved citizen and to continue being involved in politics and government as time goes on.